Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Romance and Love Stories for All Ages. I'm Donna Seaman, editor for adult books at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom an hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. You are in listen-only mode, dear audience, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or if you need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions. We will pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all of our webinars. To enable or disable them on your screen, look for and click the Show Captions icon on the toolbar. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size at any time by selecting Caption Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates the standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. All right, we have such a cheerful subject today, and we have the pleasure of hearing from a wonderful panel. We'll hear from Morgana Santilli, Sales and Marketing Coordinator, and Ingrid Lorenzi, Marketing Assistant. Both are at Yen Prep. We will hear from Bree Cornell, Sales Manager at Shadow Mountain, and Jennifer Steinhagen, Marketing Associate at Sourcebooks. All right, so first up, it's the Yen Press team. Morgana is the Sales and Marketing Coordinator at Yen Press. She is a former comic shop manager and buyer, and always particularly loved helping readers find their new favorite series. Other than reading manga, Morgana enjoys drinking lots of tea, snuggling with her two black cats, and collecting too many books for her toddler's personal library. Ingrid is a marketing assistant at Yen Press, a former bookseller and used book buyer at Strand Books. Oh boy, that's a place. She is an avid fantasy reader and advocate for translated works. Aside from collecting old books and trying to win over her cat's affection, Ingrid spends her days scavenging for the best bubble tea places in the city and taking strolls in Central Park. Thanks for being here, Morgana and Ingrid.
Thanks so much, Donna, and thank you everybody for joining us. Once again, my name is Morgana Santilli. I'm the Sales and Marketing Coordinator at Yen Press, and I'm joined by Ingrid today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'm Ingrid Lorenzi, the Marketing Assistant at Yen Press.
For those of you who are not familiar with Yen, we are one of the largest English language manga publishers in the United States. We also publish light novels, Korean comics, and kids comics as well. But today we're here to talk all about romance. So if you could go to the next slide, please. First up, we're going to talk about the Hachioji specialty, Tengu's Love. This is a really fun manga that just came out last week, I believe, about Kotaro, who he was orphaned as a child, and he moves back to his grandparents' house in Hachioji. His grandparents' house long since left empty, and all he has is memories of all that he's lost, and also a vague memory of something strange happening to him in his childhood. Upon his return, he's going up the mountain in Hachioji and falls down into a ditch and rediscovers Hime, a Tengu, a creature of Japanese folklore who he's starting to recall he had interactions with as a child. And meeting her for a third time under the sacred tree, he learns that he is destined to marry her now. Next slide, please. And you can see her there, kind of in all her spooky glory. But Hime is not actually a scary, scary monster. Next slide, please. She is a very cheerful mythological creature who is very excited about the idea of marrying Kotaro, but he's obviously not interested in getting married all of a sudden out of the blue, and learns that she's actually very interested in just kind of breaking away from her little village and kind of learning about the modern world and learning about the human world. When he tells her that she should try it out, go for it, she decides that means she's going to move in with him. Next slide, please. This is a really great tale of kind of having a bubbly female character bring our male protagonist kind of out of his shell, bring him back into relationships with others, heal some of the loss and pain that he's dealt with. Great for fans of other fantasy, romances, things like Kami-sama Kiss, which some people may be familiar with. And again, this is available now and is appropriate for ages 13 plus. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Ingrid. Next slide, please.
All right, and thank you, Morgana. So our next title comes from our Ice Press imprint, which is dedicated to Korean comics. If you like the stories like Oran High House Club, then tune in because Finding Camellia is a gorgeous historical cross-dressing romance. So Finding Camellia follows a mistreated heroine who gets roped into posing as the second son of the aristocratic Bale family, and it's all about her fight to reclaim her true identity and love. Next slide, please. So, Finding Camellia features a gorgeous art, and it's easy to fall in love with the story. We also want to praise the artist's mastery in portraying Camellia's looks when posing as a boy. One of the greatest appeals of the cross-dressing romance trope is the ambiguity of the characters' genders and the fun when you play with them. So we feel like in Finding Camellia, this is accomplished superbly. Next. Bonus points if you were looking for a historical romance with a love triangle, then consider your evening booked, as our heroine will need to face not one, but two gorgeous male leads and her threat of being discovered. This title is also available this September, so you don't want to miss it for any other reasons. Next slide, please.
All right. Pink and Habanero is a really fun high school romance series, also upcoming in September on the 17th. High school freshman Mugi is really hoping to get a boyfriend now that she's started a new school, but she's extremely timid. She has a really hard time talking to other people, let alone boys. She bumps into the popular and gorgeous Kei Kurose, but Kei has a really bad attitude behind his beautiful face. He's rude, he's kind of standoffish. She does not like him at all. But she kind of ends up discovering something about him. She walks in on him by accident at his part-time job, a job which he's not supposed to have as a high school student. He's not allowed to have a part-time job. Next slide, please. And as you can see, his job is playing the role of a prince at a cafe that provides customers with the experience of being waited on by handsome and cheerful men, which he is absolutely not cheerful. But now she has to keep his secret. And so that kind of brings them closer together. And as they grow closer, she learns a little bit more about who Kay really is at his core. Next slide, please. Here you can see him kind of defending her from a guy who was following her after she had an interaction with him that she just wasn't really into. And he steps in and defends her. And then, of course, after this, what you don't see is him kind of, laughing it off, basically. Next slide, please. This is a great high school romance series, appropriate for ages 13 plus, and once again is available September 17th. Really recommend it. It's a lot of fun, a really great kind of opposites attract story, and also one where the romantic couple is brought together kind of by extenuating circumstances. Next slide, please. Spring Storm and Monster is another high school romance from the creator of Cheeky Brat and Stray Cat and Wolf, which we also publish at Yen Press. I love Mitsubachi Miyuki. I think she's an incredible artist and storyteller. She has a real knack for really quirky female protagonists. And in this case, our protagonist is high school freshman Ranko. Ranko is completely disinterested in interacting with other people. She likes to play video games by herself. She likes to hang out with her pet pig. There's a very cute pet pig in this story. She definitely does not want to get mixed up with anyone dangerous, right? But her mother remarries, and her stepfather takes in his delinquent nephew, Kaya. And Ranko must learn how to kind of cohabitate with Kaya as her little brother, basically, or stepbrother. But Kaya has a serious chip on his shoulder. He has not had a good childhood. He's had a rough upbringing. Next slide, please. You can kind of see, even though they're supposed to have this sibling relationship, he has a bit of a twisted personality, and she begins to realize that maybe he actually needs a positive influence in his life. And over the course of the story, these two kind of learn how to open up and take down the walls that are preventing them from communicating with others and enjoying life to the fullest. Next slide, please. You see a rare moment of Kaya smiling and laughing, and he decides, because of Ranko's influence on him, that he wants to maybe go back to school and do the things that Ranko does. And of course, Mitsubachi Miyuki has excellent artwork. Love her work so much. Next slide, please. This title is also available September 17th and is appropriate for ages 13 plus. As you can see, those are the two other Mitsubachi Miyuki titles that we published, Cheeky Brat and Stray Cat and Wolf. I highly recommend those as well. Next slide, please.
All right. And because this is a romance webinar, you should know that we will never stop publishing even more great shoujos for our readers' delight. Our next title is April Showers Bring May Flowers, a shoujo manga that features a timid high schooler who, just like us, likes to spend time reading shoujo manga. However, you see, Hana has a grading challenge in front of her. She thinks herself as ugly, and despite her love for shoujo, she doesn't think she's fit to be a heroine until she encounters just the right guy who is set to change her mind. Next. If you like budding love stories that tackle body positivity and look at the teenage angst and insecurity through a fun but respectful lens, then we highly recommend this title. Next, please.
I am so excited to be presenting this. The guy she was interested in wasn't a guy at all is set to be our biggest title of the year. The fan reaction on social media and in person at conventions already is completely over the top. This is was a very requested title from a lot of fans before we announced that we were publishing it. So let me tell you a little bit about the story. High schooler Aya is popular and fashionable, but she has very different musical tastes than her friends. So she becomes a regular at a CD shop where she has totally fallen for the guy who works behind the counter. Come to find out, that guy is actually her female classmate, Mitsuki. Mitsuki kind of discovers that Aya has a crush on her and doesn't really know how to proceed with that information. This is a story for anyone who's ever harbored an ill-fated crush in high school. I feel like that's all of us. It's such a good story, a great LGBTQ romance, and exciting bonus. Next slide, please. It is printed entirely in black, white, and green. We're very excited about this book. I have read it personally, one of my favorites that we've published, that we will be publishing this year. Again, this is going to be huge. People are going to be asking for it. I definitely recommend keeping an eye on it. Next slide, please. A little bit more information here about it, but this is coming out October 18th and is appropriate for ages 13 and up. Again, I'm supposed to tell you you should get it, but also personally, one of my favorites, definitely recommend it. Next slide, please.
All right, and the next one is also a big one. Fans of our Ice Press imprint might be familiar with Tattoo, our first Korean boys' love story. If you like that, then you should be incredibly excited to hear that we're bringing to print one of the hottest BL titles of the moment. Semantic Error is a fun and dramatic series that follows two college students as they first become rivals and then fall in love, all because one of them couldn't stand the other's attitude. As they say, you play stupid games and you win stupid prizes. But maybe it's not so bad if the final prize is a passionate and sweet love story with incredible chemistry between the two leads. Next. As I mentioned before, this is one of our hottest titles of the year. Semantic Error is also so popular that it even inspired an award winning K drama and even a couple of animated shorts. Additionally, I'm not sure how many of you will attend the New York Comic Con this year, but if you're around, then you should want to know that Angie, the artist to Semantic Error, will be in attendance as a guest this year. So there is no better timing to get behind this series and get interested in the love story between these two guys. Next slide, please. More from our Ice Press imprint, the next title is a romantasy one, featuring a reincarnated brave heroine and a masked male lead. Well, yes, my secretly hot husband is a fun roller coaster of emotions and one that will keep you strapped to your seat to the very end. Leticia, our reincarnated heroine, can never catch a break. She first becomes a servant in her very own uncle's house, and then she gets pushed into an arranged marriage with a lord, one that is rumored to be cursed, and hides himself behind a mask. Her new life should literally suck. However, it might be not so bad, and not if her masked husband is a gentle hottie in disguise. Next. If you're a fan of fairy tale romances, like in Not So Wicked Stepmom or My Gently Raised Beast, then you should definitely check out this series. This title is also a fun one because the male lead, despite looking gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous, he thinks himself as the ugliest man in the world. But hey, it's fine for Leticia if that means that she can have her man all to herself. Next slide, please. Tuning back to our Yan Press releases, we have With You, Our Love Will Make It Through, an exciting interspecies romance set in high school. In a world where beastmen and humans coexist but don't really get along, Mary finds herself attracted to the new student at her high school. But could love really blossom between a human and a beastman when the latter are always under the public's scrutiny? Next. If clumsy heroines and pure-hearted male leads are your thing, then this December release is sure to make your heart skip a bit. This series is also set in the same universe as the author's previous adult work, Hannah and the Beastman. However, the spice level here is comparatively very low. Still, we would like to recommend it for older teens that would like just a tiny bit of spice in their shoujo manga. Next slide.
All right, last but certainly not least, we have Stomp Kick Love. This is a manga for anyone who's interested in romance between adults. Not that it's necessarily very spicy, like Ingrid said of the last one, but it does have adult protagonists, somebody who's maybe a little bit more relatable to the mature reader. Kaho likes to chill at the bar with her playboy buddy Akira, but she definitely is not interested in him romantically. He's too irresponsible. He's, again, too much of a playboy. Until she wakes up in his bed one morning and is having a hard time denying that maybe they've got something else going on. This title got a very positive reaction when we announced it on social media and is a great read for anyone looking for a more mature protagonist sorting through her feelings for a close friend. Next slide, please. Once again, this is available in December, December 10th of this year, and is for ages 16 plus. And last slide, please. Thank you so much for joining us today. That's my email address there. Please feel free to email me with any questions. I also publish a monthly newsletter geared toward librarians and retailers. So if you'd like to be added to that list, you can shoot me an email. And thank you again so much for joining us. Have a great rest of the webinar and rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Morgana and Ingrid. That was wonderful. Next, we're going to hear from Bree Cornell. Bree's experience with Shadow Mountain titles dates back to elementary school, which is when she first read Fablehaven. She graduated from Webster State University with a bachelor's degree in English, and now she's here to talk about Shadow Mountain publishing books. Welcome, Bree.
Hi everyone, this is Bree from Shadow Mountain. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days to join us today. I'm excited to be telling you about some of our upcoming romances. Most of the titles I'm going to be presenting are part of our Proper Romance collection, which are sweet historical reads. Another note that's worth mentioning is that none of the titles on this presentation have any sexual content in them. So there's plenty of romantic tension and there are plenty of kisses and swoon-worthy moments, but there's not any sex in these books. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start here with So True a Love by Joanna Barker. We have found that Joanna is a particular favorite among our Proper Romance readers. Her last release, A Heart Worth Stealing, received a starred review from Booklist. So True a Love is a Regency romance that features the daughter of a renowned actress, Verity Travers, who is a privileged lady of society and a private investigator. At the beginning of the novel, Verity decides that she is going to hang up her hat and live the uninspiring life of a gentlewoman. When her friend becomes the victim of an armed robbery, she is back on the case, but so is the handsome Bow Street runner Nathaniel Denning. As you can imagine, there's plenty of romance to be had here. This book also features a really strong female lead, and there is also an element of suspense in here that quickens the pace of this story. Up next is Highcliffe House by Megan Walker, which is Regency romance meets beach read. Megan's last release, Miss Newberry's List, received a starred review from Booklist. In Highcliffe House, Anna Lane longs to escape London after a humiliating romantic mishap, but her father's obligations leave her stuck. Graham Everett, reliant on an investment from Anna's father, must vie for his attention. When her father sends Anna to Brighton with Graham to decide on the investment, their clashing personalities spark unexpected feelings. As they spend time together, they realize they may have been wrong about each other, opening the door to true love. This book has been out for a couple of months now, and the scene that is becoming iconic from this book is the fishing boat scene, which doesn't sound romantic, but somehow it really is. She finds a way to make it work. So that's Highcliffe House. This next one is also already out and available for purchase. To Love the Brooding Baron by Gentry Flint follows Arabella Latham, a spirited lover of Shakespeare, who is drawn to the reserved Lord Henry Northcote, known as the Brooding Baron. Despite their contrasting personalities, they share a deep connection through intelligent conversations and dances at balls. Lord Northcote, though quietly admiring Arabella for years, feels bound by an old family scandal that prevents him from pursuing love. Determined to break down his emotional walls, Arabella sets out to prove that true love can dispel the shadows holding him back. Next up is An Inconvenient Letter by Julie Wright. In this one, Marietta Stone secretly adores Frederick Finch, expressing her feelings in love letters she keeps hidden. When the letters are accidentally delivered to Frederick's house, she must retrieve them to avoid scandal. Gerard Hartwell, needing a wealthy wife to save his estate, discovers the letters and strikes a deal with Marietta. He'll return them if she helps him court her sister Anne. As they pretend to court, Gerard unexpectedly falls for Marietta, complicating their plans and his heart. This one is perfect for anyone who's looking for just a light, fluffy, no-stress read. The Tides of Time by Sarah M. Eden is the first time travel romance that we have ever published. It's coming out in March. We're super excited about it. You might recognize Sarah from her Dread Penny Society series or her Western romances. Both of her most recent releases have received starred reviews. In The Tides of Time, we follow Lily, who escapes to England from revolutionary France, only to be thrown 80 years into the future by a violent storm. She is rescued by the lighthouse keeper Armitage, but she struggles to adapt to 1873 England while hiding her past. Despite mutual wariness, a tender friendship grows between them. However, the danger that once pursued Lily resurfaces, threatening their bond. Together they must confront these perils and test whether their love can transcend time and rewrite history. Next up is another time travel romance, A Time Traveler's Masquerade by Sean and Bessie. This is the first book in a new series with a really fun premise. In each story, people walk into a costume shop in present-day London. They try on a costume, and when they walk out, they are transported to a different time period. So in this first one, Isla Crawford is trying on a costume for an autumn ball when she suddenly finds herself in 1605, just weeks before the Gunpowder Plot. Seeking refuge in a Tudor manor, she meets Simon Hardworth, who is captivated by her strange mannerisms and dire warnings. As they work together to prevent the plot against Parliament, Isla and Simon grow closer, but the vast divide of 4 centuries complicates their budding romance. Together they must navigate the dangers of history and their deepening feelings. Across the Star-Kissed Sea by Arlem Hawks is sort of a companion novel to Arlem's last proper romance release, Georgiana's Secret, which received a starred review from Booklist. It has a couple of the same characters, but they're both standalone. You don't have to read one to read the other. In Across the Star-Kissed Sea, May becomes a lady's maid aboard a Royal Navy ship, hoping to seek escape from a family scandal as well as a new adventure. However, she faces rough seas, deadly combat, and an unexpected romance with Elias Doswell. Despite a frosty start due to mistaken identity, May and Elias grow closer, even as war with the French threatens their lives and budding love. As they navigate these challenges, May discovers resilience and courage amidst the chaos. Okay, these next two are by the same author, Annika R. Walker, and are both in the same series about clever mamas scheming to find matches for their reluctant offspring. In The Gentleman's Confession, Gemma Fielding promises her dying grandmother she will marry and turns to the matchmaking mamas for help, getting paired with Mr. Bentley. Seeking advice from her close friend Miles Jackson, she is unaware of his long-held love for her. As Miles teaches her about love, he struggles to confess his feelings before Gemma falls for the wrong man, risking their friendship and the chance for true love. In The Rules of Matrimony, Ian, vowed never to marry, is forced into a marriage of convenience with Amy Tyler after false engagement rumors. Despite agreeing to remain independent, they begin falling for each other. As Ian's political ambitions clash with their growing affection, they must decide if love is worth breaking their vows of independence. Okay, here we have Lady Anna's Favor by Karen Tuft. In this story, Lady Anna Clifton, desperate to find her missing brother in France before their estate is lost to a distant cousin, enlists the help of family friends. When efforts fail, a duke offers his yacht, and she sets out on a perilous journey. On board she meets James, who is initially dismissive, but soon offers to help. As they search for her brother across France, they must navigate their growing attraction and differences while uncovering the truth. Lady Anna's Favor offers a unique setting of post-Napoleonic France. It takes you outside of the traditional Regency-era London setting, and there's also an element of mystery in here that sets it apart from your typical Regency romance. We have also been publishing more Gothic releases that will appeal to fans of Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights. Rebecca Anderson released The Orchids of Ashthorne Hall earlier this year. Booklist called it a Gothic proper romance about remembrance, inner strength, and speaking one's truth boldly in the face of injustice. She has another one coming out next year, Whispers of Shadowbrook House. In this one, Pearl Ellicott, a governess with dreams of love, cares for young Maxwell in the mysterious Shadowbrook House, where they explore its secrets and search for haunting violin music. When Oliver Waverley, the mansion's heir, arrives to sell the estate, he's drawn to Pearl's charm, but their budding romance is threatened by social differences and family expectations. As they grow closer, both must decide whether to follow their hearts or conform to societal pressures, with Shadowbrook House holding the key to their future. I wanted to take a moment to highlight our Proper Romance Collector's editions. These 3 covers that you see on the screen are our only Proper Romances that are currently available in hardcover. Edenbrook and Ashes on the Moor are re-releases of 2 of our most popular favorites. Summer Haven is new to Shadow Mountain. The original version of the book was released by a different publisher who did not widely sell to libraries and bookstores. So for many of your patrons, this may be the first time that they would encounter Summer Haven. The story follows Hannah Kent, who is eager to reunite with her childhood love Oliver Jennings at his family's estate. She finds her plans disrupted when Oliver appears disinterested and his older brother Damon, now a charming man, proposes a ruse. To win back Oliver's attention, Hannah agrees to pretend to be in love with Damon, who uses the pretense to avoid marriage. As the deception blurs lines between reality and pretense, Hannah struggles to distinguish who her true love really is. The hardcover collector's edition of the book includes a never-before-published novella. I'm cheating a little bit here on this one because this is a cookbook, but it is inspired by our Proper Romance collection, so any fan of historical romance is sure to appreciate this. Whisk Me Away is the official cookbook to creating your own Proper Romance culinary experience. Each section is a treasure trove of decadent treats and historical elegance, from the refined allure of Regency tea parties to the opulent splendor of Victorian banquets, to the rustic romance of wild Western hoedowns. Whether you're planning a cozy dinner for 2 or a grand celebration with friends, let Whisk Me Away be your guide to creating a memorable and authentic dining experience that your favorite historical romance protagonist would be proud of. Examples of recipes include gooseberry pie, hot cross buns, and Yorkshire pudding. The book also includes additional content such as Mind Your Table Manners, 10 tips everyone should know. Okay, so that's it for the historical proper romance, but there is plenty more romance to be had here. This next one is contemporary. The Crème Brûlée Bake Off is the first book in a new series of romantic culinary mystery novels. You might recognize the author Rebecca Connolly from her historical fiction. She published Hidden Yellow Stars as well as A Brilliant Night of Stars and Ice with us. In the Crème Brûlée Bake Off, Claire Walker is selected to be a contestant on a popular cooking show at the picturesque Blackfirth Park, which is where she meets the Viscount of the estate, Jonathan Ainsley. Claire's experience at the show takes a dark turn when a contestant is found dead soon after filming begins. Claire and Jonathan must solve the mystery before the show gets cancelled or someone else falls prey to the Blackfirth Park ghost. Okay, this next one is a young adult romantasy. I couldn't help but include it because this book absolutely screams romance. It is a personal favorite of mine, actually. In Casters and Crowns, we follow Crown Princess Arya, who seeks peace with the dangerous widow Morton to prevent war with the Casters. But her negotiations fail, which leads to a curse that will destroy her family. Her only hope lies in Baron Reeves, a charming but secretive caster who harbors guilt over a past tragedy. As they work together to break the curse, Arya and Baron must confront their fears, risking everything to save each other and unite the kingdom. We also have a few other young adult romances that are coming out. If anyone is interested, we have a complete young adult catalog on Edelweiss. Okay, and that takes us to the end of the presentation. Thanks everyone for watching. ARCs of these titles are available on NetGalley and Edelweiss, or will be soon. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to contact me at bcornell@shadowmountain.com. For anyone who is interested, we do have a complete catalog of our proper romance releases. I believe we're now at more than 60 proper romances. So that can be found on the Shadow Mountain Edelweiss page. Our Spring 2025 catalog, which was recently announced, could also be found on the Shadow Mountain Edelweiss page. And I think that's all from me. Thanks again, everyone, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you so much, Bree. And now we have the pleasure of hearing from Jennifer Steinhagen. Jennifer is a marketing associate at Sourcebooks, working closely on trade shows for libraries and indie bookstores. She lives in Hinsdale, Illinois, and when she's not marketing Sourcebooks books, she's reading and posting to her Bookstagram account, Books in a Chai. Needless to say, books are her life. I can relate to that. Thanks for being here, Jennifer.
Thank you so much. Hello. I'm excited to chat with you guys all about romance books for all ages at Sourcebooks. Next. My name is Jennifer Steinhagen, and I am a marketing associate at Sourcebooks. You can follow us on all of the social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and our new Instagram for up-to-date information, galleys, and free resources. You can also email me for any questions or anything you're looking for to go along with our books. Now, on to the books. Next. Okay, first, we're going to begin today with swoony YA romances from our Fire and Bloom YA imprints. Next. A Fate of Magic is the exciting conclusion to the New York Times best-selling Witch and Hunter duology from Sarah Rosh and Beth Revis. After escaping the clutches of Dieter Kirk, which was not easy, the sadistic leader of the witch hunters, Fritzi and Otto have taken refuge among the witches of the Black Forest. But then they learn of a horrifying plot that threatens the Black Forest magic, and Fritzi and Otto must stand together against everything that threatens magic, even if the biggest threat that may be the very bond they share. And I actually had art like sitting right here that we had made for this, so I thought I would just show you guys. Next. The Covenant series is a fully complete YA contemporary fantasy romance series by best-selling author Jennifer L. Armentrout. She is my colleague Emily's absolute favorite. The series follows Half-Blood Alex and Alex's world of godly descendants. Half-Bloods only have two options: become trained sentinels who hunt and kill demons, or become servants in the homes of the Pures. 17-year-old Alexandria would rather risk her life fighting than waste it scrubbing toilets, but she may end up slumming it anyway. There are several rules that the students at the Covenant must follow. Alex has problems with all of them, but especially rule number 1, relationships between pures and halves are forbidden. Unfortunately, she's crushing very hard on the totally hot pureblood Aiden, but falling for Aiden isn't her biggest problem. Staying alive long enough to graduate the Covenant and become a Sentinel is. If she fails in her duty, she faces a future worse than death or slavery, being turned into a demon and being hunted by Aiden, and that would suck. Next. Wolf Girl is the first book of the addictive Wolf Girl series, which follows 19-year-old Demi, a wolf shifter who hasn't been able to shift. It's also important to note that her family was exiled from Wolf City before she was born. One day, she bumps into Sawyer Hudson, the son of the Alpha. Sawyer takes one look at Demi and decides to pull some strings to get her into Wolf City. However, since it is Sawyer's selection year, he must pick a mate. Every female aged 18 to 22 must be in attendance, no exceptions. Basically, this is Werewolf Bachelor. Things go awry because of course they do. Once Demi fully realizes her magic, the wolf she shifts into is different. Next. The Heartbreakers, no cover yet, is a repackaged YA title from the author of the internationally best-selling novel and Netflix series, My Life with the Walter Boys. Stella may never meant to fall for the lead singer of the Heartbreakers, but a chance encounter is making her rethink everything, including her own dreams. When Stella's sister Kara is diagnosed with leukemia, Stella puts her dreams on hold to move home and be with her family. With Kara's birthday approaching, Stella wants to get her the perfect gift, an autographed poster of her sister's favorite and Stella's least favorite band, the Heartbreakers. But when she meets Oliver Perry, the band's lead singer, she can't get him out of her head. If she gives him a chance, will she prevent him from taking her attention away from her sister, or will he help her find the courage to live her own life? Next. Okay, now on to a couple of romance-leaning fiction titles from our Sourcebook landmark imprint. Next. Okay, from best-selling author of Shotgun Love Songs comes A 40-Year Kiss, a rugged, feel-good Valentine, a small-town novel for readers who still believe in sunset triumph and second chances. Charlie and Vivian parted ways after just 4 years of marriage. Too many problems, too many struggles. When Charlie returns to Wisconsin 40 years later, he's not sure what he'll find. He is sure of one thing. He must try to reconnect with Vivian to pick up the broken pieces of their past. But 40 years is a long time. It's 40 years of other relationships, 40 years of building new lives, and 40 years of long-held regrets, mistakes, and painful secrets. Next. The King's Messenger is the newest historical romance from New York Times bestselling author Susanna Kearsley. In 1613, King James sends his messenger, Andrew Logan, to Scotland to arrest his late son's close advisor, Sir David Moray. Accompanied by his aloof neighbor, Phoebe Westaway, Andrew slowly untangles the real point of his mission, to frame Sir David for Prince Harry's death. But Andrew is unwilling to bring an innocent man into a treacherous betrayal. Andrew's feisty and lovely neighbor, Phoebe Westaway, has always been standoffish to Andrew, having heard malicious gossip against him. But as they journey to Scotland and back, Phoebe sees Andrew for the honorable and loyal man that he is, and her change of heart may open new possibilities for them once their mission is complete. Next. Okay, now on to some sizzle and spice from our Casablanca and Bloom Books imprints. Next. Promises and Pomegranates is a steamy, dark contemporary romance from Book Talk favorite author Sav R. Miller. Elena is no simple temptation to Cal Anderson, but a necessity, an obsession, one he won't let anyone stand in his way of, even if that means crashing her wedding to another man, forcing her hand in marriage, and stealing her away to corrupt island he resides on. It's romantic, I promise. Alone with the man of her nightmares for the first time ever, Elena starts to chip away at the layers of ice surrounding his hardened heart. But the warmth and depravity from her new husband may not be worth the secrets unveiled, or the lives that will forever be altered. Next. A Song of Ash and Moonlight is the second in the enchanting, sexy romanticary series from New York Times bestselling author Claire Legrand. Since her mother abandoned the family, eldest daughter Farron has been their rock, managing her father's temper, running the estate, and keeping tight control over the dangerous musical power. In Ryder Basques, Farron's stubborn strength has met its match. The man infuriates her. He's coarse, arrogant, annoyingly handsome. He's as tired of their feuding parents as she is, and he brims with some secret anger that mirrors Farron's frustrated rage. But strange things are happening in the land, and the Middle Mist is still weakening. They must work together, even when they are faced with a horrifying truth. The gods are not dead. They're waking up, and someone is hunting them. Next. Our favorite fairy tale takes a turn for the decidedly wicked in Desperate Measures, the first book in Katie Roberts' viral TikTok sensation about sexy modern villains getting their due. Yasmina has no desire to marry, especially if the groom is the darkly sinister Jafar. But when she loses a bet with stakes higher than she's willing to pay, she finds herself trapped in his web and loving every sinful second. On the night Jafar took everything from her father, he offered Yasmina a devil's bargain: walk with her freedom and nothing else, or attempt to best him and regain her inheritance. In her arrogance, she played right into his hands, foolishly assuming she had a chance to come out on top. She was wrong. Now Jafar owns her body and soul. Yasmina will do anything to obtain her freedom, even betray the man she's falling for. Next. In The Striker, British soccer star Asher Donovan is known for his recklessness, but nothing is as risky as falling for the sister of his greatest rival. Asher Donovan is a living legend, the darling of the Premier League, the arguably greatest footballer in the world. But his reckless antics and recent team transfer have caused much controversy. And when his feud with his rival turned teammate cost them a championship, they're forced to bond during off-season cross-training. Surviving the summer shouldn't be hard until Ashton meets their new trainer. She's beautiful, talented, and no matter how hard he tries, he can't take his mind off her. The only problem, she's his rival's sister and completely off limits. Scarlett Dubois swore she would never date a footballer, but when her brother leaves town for an emergency, she finds herself thrown into a dangerously close proximity with the gorgeous, charming striker. Next. We're launching #1 New York Times bestselling author Jennifer L. Armentrout's standalone duology, Frigid and Scorched. Frigid is an icy hot friends to lovers story where Sydney and Kyler's attraction is put to the test when they're stranded at a ski resort together. But that's not all. There's also a nice dose of suspense in this one because as the snow falls, it comes to light that someone is stalking them and might not let them leave the resort alive. Scorched is a hate to love romance between Tanner and Andrea that comes to a head when their friends Kyler and Sydney invite them to stay at a cabin in West Virginia for a week in the summer. Neither one of them can pass up the opportunity for a getaway, but the more they spend time together, the more they come to teeter towards the love end of the spectrum if Andrea's inner demons doesn't destroy their blossoming romance first. Next. Keep Me is a brand new scorching enemies to lovers romance from USA Today bestselling author Sarah Kate. America's Sylvie Devereaux agrees to marry Scottish billionaire Killian Barclay in order to improve his Playboy reputation. The pair can't stand each other, but that might be the least of their worries when Killian discovers that his family has darker plans for him than arranging a marriage of convenience. This one has been getting amazing reviews, including a starred review from Library Journal. I'm happy to send out NetGalley widgets for this one to anyone who wants to read the arc. Next. How My Neighbor Stole Christmas is a new holiday rom-com from USA Today's best-selling author Megan Quinn. And I love this cover too. Call him a Grinch or a Scrooge, but all Cole wants is to hibernate the winter away. His dreary plans are thwarted when his nemesis, Story Taylor, moves in next door. Immediately, the new neighbor turns his life into a real-life nightmare before Christmas, especially when she decides to enter the town Christmas Kringle contest and win it all. Over Cole's dead body, she will. Cole decides to enter the competition as well to beat Story at her own game. But the competition isn't the only thing that heats up. Their fake relationship gets complicated with real feelings. The competition gets tough, and all it takes is one single night for someone to steal it all. Next. The Empress is a new tarot-inspired portal romantasy from New York Times bestselling author Kristen Cast. Hannah is having a terrible day. She messed up the biggest pitch of her career, found her boyfriend cheating on her, and can't pay her rent. When she finds an Empress tarot card, she thinks nothing of it until it yanks her from her world into Towerfall, a realm where there's no cell phones, no antibiotics, and certainly no responsibilities, except for one big one. The Empress card has apparently chosen her to save the Kingdom of Pentacles from utter ruin. Even worse, Hannah is being helped by Cain, a very attractive and exiled protector of the realm. Cain has secrets and a brooding attitude to match, and they have a similar end goal: infiltrate the palace. Naturally, the way they do that is via a fake marriage that starts to feel not so fake. Next. Truth or Beard is the first in Penny Reid's iconic Winston Brothers series. Identical twins Beau and Dwayne Winston might share the same devastatingly handsome face, but where Beau is outgoing and sociable, Dwayne is broody and reserved. That's why perpetually level-headed Jessica James has been in a naive and unhealthy infatuation with Beau Winston for most of her life, when Dwayne and Jessica has always been adversaries. She can't stand him, and now she's pretty sure he can't stand the sight of her. But after a case of mistaken identity, Jessica finds herself questioning everything she thought she knew, unprepared for the reality of Dwayne's insatiable interest, his hot hands, hot mouth, and even hotter looks. When Jessica finds herself drawn to the man who has always her adversary, how much of her level-headed heart is she willing to risk? Next. Where Did You Go is the third and final book in the Infatuated Fae series from Janine O'Reilly. If you haven't read this series, get ready for an addicting dark fantasy romance full of enemies to lovers, betrayals, and fairy tale magic that constantly pulls out the rug from underneath you. This is one of my most anticipated books, and I literally check our system every day to see if the arc is ready. Next. From beloved TikTok author Elsie Silver comes her contemporary cowboy romance series, Gold Rush Ranch. Elsie is an author working in the unique space of contemporary Western romances, drawing readers in who never thought they would be into cowboys. In the first book, Off to the Races, Vaughn inherits half of his family's Gold Rush Ranch in Vancouver after his grandfather unexpectedly passes away. When he hires Spitfire Billy Black to train his horses, he gets more than he bargains for. Next. From internationally best-selling author and TikTok phenomenon Raven Kennedy comes a stunning new fantasy series inspired by the King of Midas. Orin is gold, literally, and kept as a possession of King Midas in a golden cage to show off his endless wealth. She once loved Midas, but that love isn't enough for her anymore. After a series of betrayals, tricks, and conspiracies, Orin is out in the world for the first time and chased by those who want to put her back in her cage. There's an evil kingdom full of rot, breaking from past trauma, and figuring out who you are, making this fantasy series pure gold. Next. That is all the books I have for you today, but please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, and don't forget to vote for Library Reads. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for listening to everyone today. This was amazing, so thanks for letting Sourcebooks be a part of it.
Oh, thank you so much, Jennifer. Everyone was fantastic. I hope everyone enjoyed this as much as I do. A big thank you to all of today's presenters. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and the video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinar. There you can view archives of past shows and register for upcoming ones, like those you see here. Whether you are traveling overseas, across the country, or via your armchair, we have your next beach read. Subscribe now to get print and digital copies of Booklist and digital and shareable issues of our new patron-friendly product, Booklist Reader. You can get all this for a special webinar price of $99. In addition to these publications, you also get archive access, extra online content, and our 2024 Guide to Graphic Novels. Head over to the Booklist website for details. Thanks for supporting libraries and librarians when you support Booklist. Thank you for joining us for today's wonderful webinar. One more huge thank you to our panelists who did such a splendid job, and to our wonderful sponsors, Yen Press, Shadow Mountain, and Sourcebook. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.